Adequate notice of the June 12, 2025 meeting of the Township Committee has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in Municipal Building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, and by hand-delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice to the following newspapers: Morris County Daily Record, the Star Ledger, the Hanover Eagle, and by filing the same with the Township Clerk.
Roll call. Committeeman Cahill.
Here.
Committeeman Faramasca.
Here.
Committeeman Francioli.
Here.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Here.
Mayor Gallagher.
Here.
Five members in attendance.
Okay, if you would, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a prayer led by Deputy Mayor Mike Mahalko. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, please watch over and guide this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding to help make the best decisions for our residents. Please bless our first responders and township volunteers who help keep us all safe. Also bless our township employees and residents. Lastly, please let us pray for the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who stand vigil over us always. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening, everyone. First on the agenda, we have 3 proclamations to read into the record. Joe, would you do the honor, please?
Okay, thank you very much, Krista. Okay, the first proclamation is a proclamation of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover designating June 2025 as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in Hanover Township. Whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover welcomes and encourages diversity and inclusion with the Hanover community. Whereas June 28th marks the anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising in New York City, a pivotal moment that sparked the modern gay rights movement and is commemorated nationwide during Pride Month to support the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, and plus community. And whereas celebrating Pride Month raises awareness, provides support and advocacy for the LGBTQIA+ community, and serves as an opportunity for education, dialogue, strengthening alliances, and building understanding. And whereas, despite remarkable progress toward acceptance and equality, members of the LGBTQIA+ community continue to face discrimination, intolerance, and hate. And whereas we must commit to supporting and accepting LGBTQIA+ individuals, especially youth, who are statistically more likely than their peers to experience bullying and violence in schools, face higher rates of depression, struggle with substance use, and attempt suicide. And whereas we must remain vigilant in deterring oppression and discrimination based on sex, gender, identity, or expression, and sexual orientation. And whereas protecting the rights of every individual enhances and strengthens the dignity, value, and unity of our entire society. And whereas the Township of Hanover affirms its support for LGBTQIA+ residents and stands with them in protecting their civil rights and their ability to live openly, equally, and without fear. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover on the 12th day of June 2025 that the governing body recognizes and supports the month of June 2025 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, and plus Pride Month. Be it further resolved that the governing body urges all residents to celebrate and promote a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance during this month and throughout the year. Signed, Thomas A. Gallagher, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Committee. Yeah, Want to sign it?
Yes, sign it and then we'll give it to Fern. Thank you. Jake, you want to give it to her?
I have a collection. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Can I say a few words? I usually say a few words. I won't be very long.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mayor Gallagher, members of the Township Committee, with the rise of extremism and division in our nation, it's more important than ever that we recognize those among us who have not been not only marginalized but also attacked for being who they are. We must recognize and celebrate the members of our own community in a positive way. Love is love, regardless of race, nationality, sexual orientation, religion, or gender identity. This is the 6th year in a row that Hanover Township has presented a Pride proclamation. Some years without even being asked. So I just thank you for that. The month of June has been nationally recognized as Pride Month, and we thank you for that recognition in Hanover Township. When we celebrate members of our community, we encourage their participation in that community. We bring them out of the shadows, and most importantly for our young people, we send the message that we accept them no matter what. We let them know, and we let the community, oh, sorry, the whole thing, but you
We
guys
heard
could
you, though.
hear
We
me,
heard you.
it's fine, I'm pretty loud. Sorry about that. Oh, and I should have said my name, Fern Walken, Hanover Township, sorry about that, totally blew it. We let them know that all people are welcome here, and that we stand against bigotry and the hatred and potential violence that comes along with it. And so I'm so proud that this community stands for these ideals. So with that, I thank you. I have a few other words to say which are unrelated. Is it okay if I just really fast? I know that you're all Republicans here, but now is the time for every single person to stand up against the fascism of the federal government. I'm sure you do not agree with their policies of ripping our rights out from under us. So please, I ask you as individuals and committee members to stand up for the sake of your children, your grandchildren, and the welfare of everyone you love. Thanks for putting up with me.
Thank you, Fern. Okay, Joseph.
Okay, our second proclamation is a proclamation of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover declaring June 2025 as Anti-Violence Awareness Month in Hanover Township. Whereas this proclamation declares the month of June 2025 to be Anti-Violence Awareness Month in the Township of Hanover, in remembrance of all victims and survivors of violence, and to declare that the United States must do more to reduce all violence in America. And whereas the Township's Chief of Police is charged with the highest responsibility in protecting the lives of all residents and the public in general, and whereas law enforcement officers know their communities best and are most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas preventing violence in all forms is more important than ever by creating an environment that is safe for our municipalities and its citizens. And whereas the Township Committee petitions members of the Congress of the United States to take appropriate action in adopting and approving legislation that will provide for tighter control of weapons of all kinds, including universal background checks, and encourage responsible ownership, as in New Jersey, and keep weapons out of the wrong hands. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover in the County of Morrison, State of New Jersey, as follows. 1, the Township of Hanover hereby declares June 2025 as Anti-Violence Awareness Month in our community. The governing body encourages all citizens to support efforts to prevent the tragic consequences of all violent incidents and to honor and value human lives. 2, the governing body also believes that it is necessary to generate greater public awareness by condemning all forms of violence and the importance of education as the most effective tool in combating aggression and promoting a respect for life and human dignity. 3, the Township Committee petitions members of the Congress of the United States to take appropriate action in adopting and approving legislation that will provide for the tighter control of weapons, including universal background checks, and encourage responsible ownership, as in New Jersey, by keeping weapons out of the wrong hands. Signed, Thomas A. Scaliger, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Committee.
Thank you, Joe.
I'd like to
I just want to make one comment, and we've discussed...
Oh, go ahead. I just have one comment after you.
You go ahead, Brian. You go first.
No, I want to say proudly that New Jersey, out of all of our states, out of this nation, has the toughest guns and weapon control laws on the books. The amount of waiting time to buy a weapon, the amount of time to do background checks, investigations before buying a weapon, on and on. If every other state followed suit with this template, we probably would have less issues with violent crimes throughout the whole United States, between gun shows, et cetera, et cetera. So I am a strong advocate for the policies and procedures that we have used here in our state for registering weapons and background checks to assure that the individuals that own these weapons have been clearly validated as checked out, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. The only thing I'd like to say, and we discussed this over the last couple of years, is all violence. I think if everybody agrees on everything, somebody's not being honest. I think disagreement is healthy. I think respect is necessary. And I have somebody in my life that was hit with a pipe, and I told you this, Fran, that literally watched TV for 10 years. I have a problem, and I don't think anybody should touch anybody. I think people should respect each other's space. And I don't think it's acceptable, almost any violence, anytime, even if it was in a sport, you also have to contain it. We competed in karate, we wore fighting gear, we had referees, so I just wanted you to know that I think this is very, very important, all violence, because I think people should be respected, they should be entitled to their space, they should stay in their lane, and people should respect one another more and more. And especially with the political situation today, it's just getting very, very toxic, and it's not healthy. And as far as us with being a governing body, and Brian and I talked about this, when Brian Cahill and I served on the Board of Ed, we at no point asked what our ideology was. We served, and we served the people. In Hanover Township, we have to go through a political process to serve on this level, but I believe we're approachable to everybody, and I think any one of us will do anything for anyone. And even when it comes to respecting people and mental health and individuality and struggles people are having, I could tell you, I don't think any municipality is working this hard with the Mental Health Association and all the people we can to help and make people as strong as they could be and accept who they are. So I'm very proud of the way we've been working on this resolution for the last 5 or 6 years, and Hanover Township is very accepting. And hopefully we can continue to be a stronger and stronger model on how people should behave and respect one another. That's my 2 cents, and I think it was important to say it. Thank you.
Okay, we have one final proclamation. We are not going to read it into the record. I'll just read the title. It's a proclamation of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover designating the month of July as Park and Recreation Month within Hanover Township. All in favor of that proclamation? Aye. Okay.
Mike, you don't have a comment on this one?
It speaks for itself.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Mayor Mahalko, Parks and Recreation. Thank you, Kristen.
No worries. Moving on, we have communications next. Letter of retirement from Public Works Supervisor Brian Pillion, effective of July 2025. We just want to thank Brian for all the years of service that he gave to Hanover Township. May I have a motion to approve his retirement?
With regrets, yes.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resignation accepted. Next is the approval of the Township Committee meeting minutes of April 24th and May 8th. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are so approved. The next order of business is the public hearing and adoption of ordinance numbers 16, 2025, 17, 2025, and 18, 2025. I would like to conduct a public hearing for each ordinance separately, please. The first ordinance, 16, 2025. Proof of publication that the pending bond ordinance and summary appeared in the May 15th issue of the Hanover Eagle. At this time, may I have a motion to convene the public hearing on ordinance number 16-2025?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 16-2025? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Motion to close.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now an adoption for ordinance 16-2025. May I please have a motion to adopt ordinance number 16-2025?
So moved.
Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalka.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So adopted. Next is ordinance 17-2025. Proof of publication that ordinance 17-2025 and its notice of introduction appeared in the May 14th issue of the Daily Record. At this time, may I have a motion to convene the public hearing on ordinance number 17-2025?
Make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 17-2025? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Seeing none?
Close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now in adoption, may I please have a motion to adopt ordinance 17-2025?
Make the motion.
Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalka.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So adopted. Ordinance number 18-2025. Proof of publication that ordinance 18-2025 and its notice of introduction appeared in the May 14th issue of the Daily Record. I'd like to state for the record that ordinance 18-2025 is a land use ordinance, and this ordinance was sent to the Morris County Planning and Preservation Office as required by the municipal land use law. And in addition to the law, also requires the town to submit the ordinance to the 5 contiguous municipalities. Ordinance 18-2025 was also referred to the Planning Board for their recommendation. In a letter dated May 27, 2025, from Planning Board Chair Peter DeNegris, it stated that the Planning Board has determined that Ordinance 18-2025 is not substantially consistent with the master plan, since the land use element of the master plan recommended the current maximum building height of 60 feet and 4 stories. Despite this inconsistency, the Planning Board recommends that the Township Committee adopts Ordinance 18-2025, and it will amend the master plan to eliminate the inconsistency within the ordinance if so adopted. So at this time, may I please have a motion to convene the public hearing on ordinance number 18-2025?
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 18-2025? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Hearing none, seeing none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now in adoption, may I please have a motion to adopt ordinance 18-2025?
So moved. Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Yes.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalka.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So adopted. I'd also like to read into the record the title of Resolution Number 144-2025, which outlines the reasons for the adopting of Ordinance 18-2025. So we'll do a Resolution Number 144-2025. It's a resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, overriding the master plan consistently determination with respect to Ordinance 18-2025. May I please have a motion to pass Ordinance Number 144-2025?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Yes.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Gallagher. I'm so sorry. Committeeman Mahalka.
Yes.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
And Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So approved. Next, I have two ordinances this evening for introduction. I'd like to read each one into the record. Ordinance number 19-2025. An ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the implementation of Phase 6 of a multi-phase, multi-year project for the improvement and modernization of the township's communication and technology infrastructure with the extension of the fiber optic network and installation of automatic license plate readers and additional security cameras where needed at critical infrastructures located in the township, and further appropriating the sum of $80,000 from the township's 2025 capital improvement fund and all prior years for financing the Phase 6 improvements. Next would be ordinance number 20-2025, an ordinance of the Township of Hanover, Morris County, New Jersey, amending section 166-131, tree preservation, removal, and replanting in chapter 166 of the Township Code entitled Land Use and Development, in order to reduce the maximum tree replacement obligation for affordable housing developments. I'd like to state for the record that these ordinances and the respective notices of introduction will be published in full in the Daily Record in accordance with law. The public hearing will be scheduled for July 10th, 2025 at 8 p.m. If any member of the public would like to be heard regarding those ordinances, they will be given the opportunity to do so that evening. Now, may I please have a motion to introduce ordinances 19 and 20?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Faramasca.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So introduced. Next order of business is the approval of resolutions as a consent agenda. Resolutions numbers 118 through ordinance number 143. Does any member of the governing body have any questions regarding any of these mentioned resolutions?
Mayor, at some point, I'd like to just make a comment regarding Resolution 138-2025.
Please.
Okay, all right, thank you. This is a resolution regarding the redevelopment agreement for 85 Whippany Road and 100 Bear Boulevard. It's been commonly known as the Bear Extension, and that's as a result of an ordinance adopted by the governing body earlier this year to establish a certain redevelopment plan for that property, which is almost 80 acres in size. This resolution comes with an agreement, a redevelopment agreement, and it's important because it memorializes the understanding with the township and what is to be perceived at the development, in addition to the ordinance that was adopted for redevelopment that was already approved, with some of the ancillary terms. And I think it's important to just memorialize that this governing body was steadfast about a few items. One, that there would be no waiver of the tree ordinance. And I think that's something that was made clear, notwithstanding that was requested by the developer. The governing body believes that that's something that is applicable to all developers within the township going forward, and that's number one. Second, there was also a request to eliminate the right of condemnation that the governing body reserves based on the redevelopment designation. And to that end, the governing body also was of the opinion that this is the project that's to be approved. If it's something different down the road, or there's a change, because you see throughout the state, sometimes you start with one project, and then the next thing you get more, say, density or development and things like that. The governing body was steadfast in wanting to reserve its right of condemnation, eminent domain, if in fact the project that's been proposed does not get developed and something else were to come along. And I think that's something else that's very important that's in this agreement. And then finally, in part of the whole discussion for the redevelopment, $250,000 was put aside for the township, which is permitted under a redevelopment agreement for the sole purpose of any roadway improvements, which could even be studies for the actual site. And it could even be off-site type of improvements at the discretion of the governing body. And I just want to make clear that one of the things that was important to the governing body is that $250,000 does not go against if the land use board has improvements that have to be made, if the county, because this is on a county road, requests certain roadway improvements. This was for the governing body based on some of the needs that it may perceive are necessary with respect to the property. And that, too, was very important to be in this agreement, not any derivative of that, such as, well, maybe that'll be used toward the planning board approval or the county approval. That's solely within the discretion of the governing body. And for the record, I think it's important the public's aware of how steadfast the governing, how important it's been to the governing body to make sure that this project is developed the way it was envisioned and presented. And second, that it wasn't any changes by the governing body. That was the understanding all along, not that the tree removal ordinance would be waived, condemnation would be withdrawn, and certainly not that the $250,000 would be used for anything else. And I just wanted to just make that, emphasize that to the public, and of course, just reiterate that that was the position of this governing body, Mayor.
Fred, thank you very much, and I'll make one comment on what Fred just responded to. We made it abundantly clear that when we spend a lot of time on a deal, at no point do you come back and start discussing with us what you need to change for your benefit. At that point, the whole deal gets reopened, and then we have to talk about what we want to do for our benefit. The days are over for people to come back to us and tell us why A, B, and C won't work. And another comment about the condemnation, there's two different ways of looking at condemnation, one that benefits everybody and one that can be a little bit harsh and disrespectful to a homeowner. Fred explained to us clearly, this is at the benefit of the Hanover Township residents, and we are Hanover Township residents. If they try to pivot and say, we can't do this, we're going to do this, boom, we can shut the whole thing down. We have that authority. And that was Fred's guidance, Fred's recommendation, and we grabbed it and held tight on it. We are going to be in control of this project, and it's not going to turn into The Blob, that famous movie from the late 60s. This is going to be what was proposed, or it's not going to happen at all. And Fred, thank you for your guidance and your wisdom on helping us with this entire process.
Thank you, Mayor. And may I just ask, with respect to the resolution, it also be amended to reflect that because there was a lot of still technical changes as we came to this meeting tonight, and I'd like it to just have the caveat that Mr. Giorgio will sign the agreement once he also does a final review in the event there's any technical changes that have to be made to make sure what we just talked about is in the agreement. So it would just be subject to Mr. Giorgio's any changes he may authorize after you approve this tonight, if you do.
Beautiful. Thank you, Fred. Okay, Krista?
Any other comments or questions regarding the resolutions?
Can I make a quick comment about Resolution 119? That is the promotion of Tom Quirk.
Oh, yeah, great.
Although I'm very sorry to see Denise Brennan move on, we wish her the best in her retirement, but we're very anxious, looking forward to working with Tom Quirk. He is more than capable, and following our succession plan, we are moving him from the assistant superintendent up to superintendent position. And again, I've worked with him very closely these past few years, and I'm looking forward to him being in the superintendent position moving forward. So congratulations to both of them, to Denise and to Tom.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the resolutions as a consent agenda?
So moved?
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. And lastly, we have to pay our bills in the amount of $7,028,799.40. Would somebody like to pay the bills? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor to pay the bills?
Aye.
So approved. The mayor and the members of the committee, that clears my portion of the agenda, and I thank you very much.
Krista, you did an incredible job.
Thank you.
And I think only one other meeting, Joe, you spoke that many words in that short amount of time. I almost had to drink water when Krista was talking. So I would like to have a motion open to the public. Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone from the public would like to address the governing body, please step up to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Terry Baird from the Whippany section of Hanover. I have a question about the website and who decides what goes on our website? Is there somebody who's in charge of that?
Well, ultimately, I am, Terry. Each department head also has the ability to post items that are supposed to be for the benefit of the public. So, but I oversee all the postings. So if there's one posting in particular you're concerned about, please let me know.
Okay. It's the 2025 Housing Element and Fair Share Plan.
Okay?
Since that the planning board is having a big meeting on Tuesday, and, you know, the size of the document is half the size of War and Peace, and, you know, the inconvenience of people having to schedule with Kimberly, you know, while she stands there and watches you go through the 654 pages, which I'm sure she's not going to appreciate. I don't understand why it wasn't posted on the website.
Terry, I'm going to jump in real quick. I talked to Fred about this earlier today, and I asked Fred if there was legally a reason why we can't or shouldn't. And I also asked Fred, although it's very, very involved in many, many pages, should we make it a little easier for the public to review it rather than make an appointment? Because appointments, especially in today's day and age, are very, very hard to make and keep. So Fred, can you just answer, is there a legal reason why we can't or should we? What do you think?
Yeah, well, first, we have to be very mindful and respectful of the fact that this process goes through the land use board. So whatever they're doing is with their appropriate guidance, legal guidance. But that's still a township document too. So if the governing body wants to do something else with the document, that's fine. That there's nothing that would stop you legally, but I just want to make sure that's to say that there's reasons and, you know, a determination made from a standpoint of the land use board, because that's the first stop for this new law. So I don't want to speak for that. But on this side of it, on the township side, to your question, yes, the governing body can, you know, whenever it deems appropriate, make this document available in different ways as well.
The reason why I ask is because it's up for public hearing. So how can the public participate in government without the transparency of the actual document to speak to? Because obviously the attorney at this public hearing is going to have a hissy fit when, you know, people say, well, I don't know what page it was on, I don't know what it is, you know, like, you don't even know what the document's about if you can't.
Well, you know, one thing that's so hard in all this, Terry, is the deadlines that the state has mandated. So, and the rules, they're so specific. Like, for an example, once you adopt the plan, you have 48 hours to actually file it with the court, things like that. So here, I believe the rule is within 10 days prior to the hearing, it has to be available for inspection. And, you know, you just don't know from a land use standpoint if anything you do different and somebody's going to try to say, got you. I don't think it's done for a standpoint of anything, but there's a very, very specific and demanding timeline, because this 600 and so pages that, you know, we have is something that's just been put together with a lot of work. It's for the next 10 years. And even though down in Trenton, the municipal attorney said, could we have more time when they did this legislation? The answer was no. You got to get it done. And there's been requests for extensions, no. So it was really put together on short order. And the law says you have to have it available within 10 days. And I don't want to speak for the land use board, but I want to defend the process a little bit to say that everybody's trying to do exactly what they have to do right now. And I don't believe there's any other intent to miscommunicate this. It's the first time through, just as much as it's great for the public, and the public should see this and be available. There's also, not that it wouldn't be available, but you have to remember, there's also some people who just want to see it, and they've got other ideas about, you know, suits and things like that, which are all going to happen. It'll all be made public, it is. So I just want to say to you that it's the first time through. But to the mayor's question, the governing body can certainly address this. And it's important to note that, well, the land use board by law first makes a decision about adopting the plan. It does come back to the governing body for a resolution and consideration as well. And I believe there's going to be a meeting to that effect on the 24th?
26th.
26th of June.
5 o'clock.
For the governing body to get it back and ratify, because it hasn't gone through this governing body yet. It's been discussed in executive session from a strategy standpoint, where you don't want developers to hear that strategy. You wish the public could hear everything. But, so that's just to acclimate you. It's a little different than what we've ever seen before because of the time constraints.
I guess I come back from the standpoint is that it's a public hearing, and that in order for the public to be involved and educated about it, they have to have access.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, this isn't 1965 anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and we're treating this like it's 1965. The way this is being treated is like the same rules that applied back in 1965. And it's really shameful, you know, like, because the public should have the information, whether they read it or not.
Right.
I'm about access to the information, and primary documents rather than hearsay is the best way.
Terry, John's a pretty creative guy, and John's the director of planning. John, what are mine and Fred's recommendations and conversations, and you being the director of planning, what do you think the best way to do what would be the best way between now and when we discuss it in planning would be to get the information to the people? You think the website would be a good idea? You think making copies available to the public?
I think what we've started to do is to post things on the website so that at the hearing itself, a member of the public who has access to the web can reference all these documents that are being covered. So that exists. So that does exist. The question that we're talking about tonight is, do we post this in advance? And directionally, it sounds like a good idea, but ultimately, I would like to get the opinion of the attorney for the planning board to find out, to make sure that there isn't an issue that we're not aware of tonight before we make that kind of decision. So why don't we check with Mr. Sullivan on that issue, and to see if we can post it.
And in addition to that, maybe have Plan B, like maybe have 4 to 5 copies that people could come in and peruse rather than make an appointment. And that way, we did everything we could
That's
to make
good.
sure that
That's a good suggestion.
everybody can take a look. This way, we did everything we could.
That's a good suggestion. Make them available. It's an important, very, very important document, and providing public access to that document, I think, is a very good suggestion.
Can you champion that, John?
Sure.
Thank you.
It doesn't address the issue that people would have to take the day off from work in order to do that. And like I said,
But
that's 50 years ago.
But Terry, I think it might, because I think what the mayor and Mr. Faramasco are saying is that as long as we don't want to do something to interfere with the planning board. You can never do that. But if we get the okay from Mike Sullivan, what I think the mayor's saying is, then we'll put it on the website. If there's a legal reason why we can't, and I just want to say, again, there's very specific parts in the law right now that say you have to put this on the website. For some reason, this is not one of them. And I don't want to speak for them, but what I surmise is, you know, the minute we don't follow something, even though it wouldn't appear to make sense, it's just the reality. The law doesn't always make sense, you know?
Planning board rules and stuff have not kept up with the times, and they stay rather cloistered.
But this is just about a very unique document, and I think the bottom line is if Mr. Sullivan says you're not in any way interfering with the planning board process by putting it on the website, it sounds like that's what the governing body will do. And just also, no one here, it's never been the intent throughout this whole process, which is very sensitive, to ever say, well, let's just hide the 600 pages in any way or anything like that. That's never been the position of the governing body or my conversations with Mr. Sullivan, just so you know. As a matter of fact, I think overall, based on what the township has gone through, if I might just add, is this report, based on all the demands and the obligation is a very extensive report, not including new projects, which is a tremendous accomplishment at this stage with all the rules and regulations. So, but anyway, thank you.
And I just want to say one more thing, Terry, about what Fred said. I think the public would be very impressed with their governing body if they were privy to our conversations about some of these rules, about some of these mandates, and where we are and where they want us to be. And Fred, I'm glad you pointed that out, because we spend a lot of time on this. So John, if you could check that out, get with Fred and Mike Sullivan tomorrow, that'd be great. And Terry, we'll do everything we could to provide as much of a service to this information as we can, and we'll know tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, there are, yes, factually, a number of property owners who made a request to be part of the plan. And the governing body has come up with a way where it meets its obligation without those additional projects, which, like you said, that's quite an accomplishment.
Dean Atkinson, Cedar Knolls. I know Terry had brought up, it's hard for people to take time off of work, because I know the municipal building, like your hours are very short compared to people's working hours. So I don't know if it's possible at all. I know the library has a part where you can go read the newspapers and stuff, but what if we are able to have some of our documents there, because they have longer hours, more access for the public? I don't know if it's possible, but...
That's a great idea, and we'll know tomorrow what flexibility we do have after John speaks to Mike Sullivan. But in my opinion, that's a very good idea. But we really have to find out from John after he talks to Mike and then Fred Samrow. So very good idea.
Okay.
In principle. We might be told tomorrow we're off base, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, that's why, see if it's possible.
John will champion that tomorrow.
And also on ordinance, the introduced ordinance 2025 with the reduction of trees. Why are we changing their obligation on the tree replacement? And
Jerry, you want to take that one?
Well, maybe it's more legal because the affordable housing rules allow when you have a development.
your mic's not on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When you have a project that includes affordable housing component, there is some legal
Concerns.
that you can offset some of that
Yeah.
cost, and this is one way to reduce some of the costs associated with those developments.
And I think also, it's fair to say, some communities have been dealing with this. This stems off of the DEP ordinance, and some of the fees that towns have put in these ordinances have some results that legally won't stand when you deal with certain numbers. And I'm just saying, generally, there's just been some cases that say you have to have you have to have a reasonable relationship to the cost that you're collecting, and or caps on the amount that you can collect for tree removal before it becomes, so to speak, excessive. So we've reviewed that with Blaise Blanchow, and from legal, and had a discussion with the governing body that it's not going away, it just had to be refined basically with some limits so that there's a rational relationship, because government just can't charge what it wants. And so we had to go back and take a look at it to make sure that it's in line with the case law.
Okay. And on the Mountain Ave group home, were you able to come up with a location for the home on the property?
I'll give you a quick answer, and then I'm going to ask Ron Franciulli to take the floor on this one. Ron and I had a meeting with the group after I said that we didn't like any of the renderings. We had a very, very high-level discussion on exactly what we would accept, what we would have to see to fit into that neighborhood based on the commitments we made to our residents and what we put forth in the legal document. And then, Ron, if you can, as carefully as possible, maybe update on where we are with getting back to what we originally thought it could be.
Yeah, we had such a meeting with ARC and their engineering firm and their staff, and we shared with them our concerns for several things which they're addressing right now. Number one, the size of the unit, the footprint of the building itself has to be reduced. Number two, the size of the driveway, not the driveway, but the parking area on the site has to be reduced. Number three, the location of the site moved further east of the trails and further east of the woods for the schools for that. There were some other items concerning lighting for the trails that we would like to provide for additional security. Other items that would bring them into conformity for a planning board review, front yards, etc., that would line themselves up with the additional houses on the street, being more conforming to other properties on the street. So we're expecting a new draft from them for our review. Once we have it in our hands, the Township Committee will take a look at it. If it meets with our expectation, then the next move is on their part, and that would be a planning board review.
Okay, and was it ever looked at for the driveway to come off of Spruce, or was it always off of Mountain?
We have in our agreement that Spruce is not going to be an access whatsoever. For very specific reasons, but yeah, there was no opportunity or option for them to come off Spruce.
As a matter of fact, as the mayor might recall too, our recommendation is that barriers will be put up at the end of Spruce as well, so that it never to be open, let's put it that way.
And a beautiful wood one, not a big metal state issue guardrail.
No blinking lights. No.
But the last part that's very important for you in this neighborhood is, in our meeting, we did make it very clear, if we don't get to a very good place with this structure, maybe it just won't work here. And that kind of woke them up a little bit, and they were very, very amenable to hearing our big concerns. And I think we're much, much closer than we were the last meeting, but still, we haven't seen anything, held anything, and said this is going to work. And we are going to be as tough as we said we would about trees. They are going to remove trees. We did put in a stipulation for the size of tree and the species of tree that would have to be replaced. But we certainly are going to do everything we could to not allow them to cut down too many, which one of the proposals was too many. And that's not what we discussed, and that's not what we discussed with you. So right now, again, it's all up in the air. It's up to them to come back to us and have us say, wow, that looks great, or this is acceptable if we do A, B, and C. So it's still up in the air right now.
Okay, and my last question is, was there just a traffic study done on Mountain? Because I saw the things in the street.
Brian, do you know anything about that?
I don't know if they were doing one on Mountain or not.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hearing none, seeing none? Motion to close?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think now other business. John, would you like to make a few comments?
Sure. We'll begin with some fun stuff with environmental and the green team. The environmental green team is doing a special project with the Boy Scouts. We have an Eagle Scout who is installing a gander disbander at Bee Meadow Pond. And what the gander disbander will do, it will emit a laser on top of the water to discourage geese nesting. And in addition, the Scouts will be building bat houses to help combat West Nile mosquitoes. So a very, very good addition to the beautiful Bee Meadow Pond. EDAC is going to have to postpone its planned broker networking event at All Seasons Golf, because if anybody is very familiar with what's going on at Cedar Knolls Mall, there's a tremendous amount of construction. So we're going to postpone that till September at All Seasons Golf. Should be a great event. Engineering just conducted its mid-year review with the Township Committee on Roads. The road plan is going on as planned. In addition, the good news is the top of Horse Hills Road has been added to the list, and we appreciate the support of the Township Committee on that. And lastly, the old downtown area of Whippany, Mount Pleasant Avenue, will have parking available on it. So that'll be starting next week of 6/16, and all the striping and the lanes will be done by the week of 6/23. So a nice addition to what we refer to as the old downtown part of our community.
Thanks, John. Ron?
Very brief, Mayor, just one comment. We had a very lovely ceremony yesterday evening at our library for one of our departing members. Been the vice president of the Whippany Library for quite some time. That's Chantel Miliziano. Will be leaving us, and the Township Committee presented Chantel with a beautiful plaque that the administrator prepared. And once again, we wish her all the best as she leaves the library and because she's leaving the area. And again, we wish her all the best going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Brian?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, lots of congratulations. First, Ron or Nace, congratulations on your primary win.
It was tough.
Thank you very much,
You got
sir.
that race, but congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Also, I did also want to congratulate TQ and Denise as well. I couldn't agree more. I've known TQ for a very long time, and as far as succession is concerned, he's certainly deserving of the role. I spoke with Denise yesterday, and she expressed very, very mixed emotions. I did insist that she come by and visit us often. She said that the Senior Citizens Club had invited her to join that, so hopefully she'll do that as well. But congratulations to both. Also, I'd like to congratulate our newest police officers to Hanover Township, Bernard Dada and Thomas Adamiak. They graduated last Monday, I believe, from the Police Academy, and began their training here in Hanover Township only, I think, just a few days later. So congratulations to them. We look forward to having them on the force and continuing to grow and evolve Hanover Township PD.
Thanks, Brian. Mike?
I'll try to keep it brief.
Do whatever you want, Mike.
Recreation, you know it's
Do whatever you
Let me
want.
get the timer out.
Yeah, set the timer on Mahalka.
4 minutes.
Okay, get it going quick. So B Meadow Pool is now open. It's open full-time on the weekends. It'll open full-time at the end of the month on June 21st. Unfortunately, the splash pad, we were running into some issues, started dragging. For safety, for comfort of the residents, we said, you know what, let's put a pause on the project, and we're going to restart that on September 2nd once the pool closes. So we did have to, again, there was a lot of problems, a lot of issues kept popping up, and again, for safety, and again, comfort, we didn't want construction going on while people were sitting at the pool. We did offer anyone that has paid their fees, we offered to refund them for this year if they so inclined. Most people stuck it out. Actually, I think we only had two people that requested their money back. So I was very pleased with that, and they're still excited. We did make other arrangements, since we don't have a baby pool anymore, to use the 2-foot area for younger children. So we made some accommodations. Eddie and Denise also came up with some really creative ideas. But yeah, we're excited for that, you know, to start back up again in the fall and hopefully become a nice project. The registration is still far beyond where it's been in years past, so we're anxious that way. All of our camps are starting up pretty soon. Summer camp, traveling, teens, they're almost all sold out. We have a very popular program. There's even a waiting list for most of them. Mark your calendars. We do have 5 concerts coming up for our patriotic celebration, July 2nd. That's our fireworks here at the municipal campus. That'll be our first concert, followed by, we'll have some face painting, balloon sculptures, and then fireworks at dusk. So again, mark your calendar. That's July 2nd, rain date of the 3rd. We also have our summer concert series, starts right after that. That is the Mondays in July, so July 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th. All of those Mondays over at the at Brickyard on the turf field. We're going to have those concerts there. Just to give you an idea, the 7th is the Nerds, The 14th is a Suit Mai Tai. It's a yacht rock band. That's a new one for us. On the 21st, July 21st, is Austin City Nights. That's going to be country music. And then the Coots, the old Coots who have played for us in the past. That's a really popular one too. That's on July 28th. And just one more, mark your calendars. It's strange to start talking about it already, but Hanover Township Day, mark your calendars, September 6th, Saturday, September 6th, rain day to the 7th. So, that's it in a nutshell.
That's it?
Yep. Thank
Krista,
you.
does Mike have more time?
No.
That's it?
Well, you want to take it going. Thank you, going.
I just want to conclude by acknowledging and thanking Denise Brennan. You know, 9 times out of 10, when somebody's really devoted to something, you'll never put the term minimum amount required. And Denise Brennan, this is her life, her family. She's a beautiful human being that has done incredible work. And what I'll say about Tom Quirk is the same. As OEM director and assistant to Denise Brennan until tonight, I can't tell you how many times we've been out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with flooding issues, and you call Tom Quirk, and he answers the phone on one ring. He's the same way with the rec. He really knows what he's doing. He came up under Denise. And I want to tell you one more thing about succession in Hanover Township. Just prior to the beginning of Brian Cahill's last term, we discussed the future of Hanover Township. We're here now. We're not going to be here forever. We worry about succession across the board. We created a detail of succession that Brian champions, and this goes right in to our detail of succession. Somebody that came up in Hanover, lives in Hanover, understands Hanover, worked with the rec department. This is just a beautiful, beautiful fit, and we're excited about embracing Tom. As sorry as we are to see Denise go, Denise is just a wonderful, wonderful human being. So on that note, guys, that's it for me.
One comment, and I want to piggyback on what Michael was talking about with the, coming up with the fireworks celebration, et cetera, that were coming. This is personal observation for everyone. Been out there, as we all have. Beautiful, beautiful shoot. Lots of lights, lots of noise. And I've seen children watching close by, young ages. I'm saying 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. No ear protection. No ear protection. I strongly, strongly suggest that parents who come out, and I've seen some parents who do have ear protection for the children, that they bring ear protection for the kids. It frightens them without it. With it, ear protection, they enjoy it. So that's my note on that.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Anyone else?
John.
Be remiss, as a committee, talked about patriotic celebrations without acknowledging the deputy mayor's work, Mike Mahalko, for our Memorial Day Parade. Our Memorial Day Parade was a huge success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for your leadership of it.
It's the team, and I don't want this to turn to a whole back-patting thing, but you guys do a terrific job. We got a great team that works on it now, and I think it was probably one of our best ever. The weather was perfect. We had a good lineup, and everything went very smoothly. Again, thank you all. Brian arranges the parade. Ron and John work on the ceremonies on that. Ace just stands there and looks pretty. Ace coordinates getting the cars lined up. So we have a lot of people that work. Tom Quirk being one of them also. Denise was on the committee. James left. James Hark who was here, he was also on the committee. Pete Birkenkamp. And one sad note, Mary Nemec was also on our committee. Unfortunately, she passed away. So that was, it was a spot that we missed her. But again, it was a terrific crew, and thank you, John, for reminding us that it was a terrific celebration of our veterans and those that have passed. So, thank you.
Before I ask to adjourn, I want to say that we cannot forget Hanover Township's big brother, Hanover Township PD, retired Deputy Chief Steve Bulkart, a Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal.
Boy, he had the day of his life, and he deserves it. And that was a beautiful, beautiful choice, and Steve's a great, great guy and a great friend. So, that being said, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good.
Nice chairs.
You take care.
You did a great job on the chairs, too.
Red